If you can openly break a law in plain view of law enforcement and face no legal consequences, then that law should be repealed.
I agree. Or you could try and enforce the law.
You're thinking about it.
Right. Yeah, maybe what I'd agree with there is that, that the law is not, in fact, in operation, right? Like, if people are openly violating a law, then the law isn't working. I agree with that. And now, what do you do with the law that's not working? You can either, get rid of it, or you can try to fix it. And I would definitely default to trying to fix it, like fix the enforcement, fix the letter of the law itself, if that is hampering enforcement, if it's a badly written law.
Okay, I changed my mind. I agree with David now.
So there are a lot of different kinds of laws that fall into this category. Like, the first thing that came to my mind is like jaywalking. I've jaywalked in front of police officers, not been hassled about it.
I've jaywalked diagonally across a street where there were 2 police officers blocked. That was awkward. It was like
living dangerously.
I was like a third of the way across. I was like, oh shit.
So there's
I assumed one guy was like, you're going to give him a ticket.
Maybe it was just like a responsibility thing. Like, they both thought the other one was going to give you a ticket. Yeah, bystander effect. There's piddling stuff that even if a police officer sees you do it, they're not going to enforce because, like, who cares? Then there's like old-timey laws against like adultery, that are still technically on the books, but like it would be really strange if it were to get enforced. And then there's the third category of just like those bullshit laws, like you can't kiss a fish on Sundays, or you can't throw a moose out of a plane.
You can't detonate a nuclear device within the city limits of Chico, California.
Exactly. What I actually want to talk about today is the Hatch Act. This is a law that's not getting enforced, and I'm going to argue that because it's not going to get enforced, we should just get rid of it. So the Hatch Act restricts the political activity of all federal civilian executive branch members except the president and vice president. So those employees may not engage in political activity while the employee is on duty. They can't do it in a government office, and they can't do it while wearing a uniform of the federal government. And a political activity in this case is defined as an activity directed towards the success or failure of a political party, candidate for partisan political office, or partisan political group. So this law is broken all the time, and like recently has been broken a lot. With the government shutdown, the president has been directing federal employees to put out messaging, videos, and things like that, just blaming the Democrats for the government shutdown. Everyone's being told to use their federal resources and their position as federal employees to blame the Democrats for the government shutdown, which is just a clear violation of the Hatch Act.
I have a question. So, press secretary, basically everything they do is in favor of, to support their guy, right?
If you're a direct employee of the president, that kind of puts you under the umbrella of president and vice president. So I think it's a good idea to have these nonpartisan roles, like the Department of Agriculture and Department of Labor. Like, these should be as nonpartisan as possible in my mind. But I think the reason we don't have that anymore is because the Hatch Act is just broken. And that's because it is enforced by the Office of the Special Counsel and the Merit Systems Protection Board, both of which are presidential appointees. It is just another case, like so many cases in the government, of the foxes guarding the henhouse. There's supposed to be someone who makes sure things aren't partisan, but if you appoint people who just don't care about that, then they're never going to enforce this law.
Yep. Norms. When you rely on norms, then your shit doesn't work.
Well, it can stop working very abruptly. It did work for a while.
There's just a ton of specific examples of breaking the Hatch Act that happened recently. People's outgoing email was changed without their permission to trash the Democrats. When the government shutdown happened, people got like little messages. Their automatic reply got changed to like anti-Democrat messaging. Kristi Noem, her face is being broadcast at airports all over the country with propaganda saying, "It is TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe. However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay."
So to ask you guys then, do you just disagree with the like implementation of this, and you're in favor of like something like this being in place, right?
Yeah. Ultimately, I
I'm
want
not
there
sure.
to be something like this.
I mean, I'd like there to be something like this, but I'm not that sure it's possible. But yeah, I mean,
Well, so if you don't have something like this, what if the president just orders every government employee to start going door to door telling everybody how great he is, right?
I mean, it doesn't sound that different from the current situation, but I don't like the current situation. I don't know, like we could do like the classic American problem solve here and just put it in a different branch of government, you know?
Right, that's
like,
what I was thinking. So, like, I mean, and I guess you'd have to pick the judicial branch, right? I mean,
seems like the likeliest candidate. Just put it to the courts. Don't make it a subset of the executive branch. That never really seems to work when we do that.
yeah, I was thinking that, I mean, maybe like the prosecutorial branch should be its own branch. I don't know. Because, yeah, right. I mean, we're seeing it all across. I mean, yeah, you're talking about some ethics enforcement function, but the whole law enforcement function of the country is broken right now, or for this reason too. But I guess that is what the executive is supposed to be, right? They're supposed to execute the laws. Like, I guess that's not just like criminal enforcement. It's also like doing things.
Yeah, the government looks very different from how the founders imagined it looking.
Like there's like a 2021 report about the historical sort of thinking behind the law, that they said Congress's motivations in passing the Hatch Act was to prevent the creation of a powerful, invincible, and perhaps corrupt political machine using thousands or hundreds of thousands of federal employees paid for at public expense to man a political party's political structure and political campaigns, right? Like we don't want that. We kind of have that now. But when you have a law like this with good intentions that doesn't get enforced except in select situations, then it's just another tool of discrimination and oppression. When you selectively enforce the law, you create a secondary class of people that have this law applied to them.
Right. When
if you're confused about what Phil means, just ask some black people. They'll explain it to you.
The thing is, all laws aren't being enforced right now. Right? Like this, I feel like the thing that is fundamentally broken right now is that Congress is not impeaching the president.
It goes way deeper than that, dude. They've given up all of their authority almost to the president, right? We were just talking.
They haven't given it up. They've declined to exercise it, which doesn't mean that they couldn't change their mind tomorrow and exercise it.
Actually, in some cases it does, though. Like part of the big beautiful bill was they weren't allowed to consider taking the tariff authority back, right?
But then they can change that law, right? Whatever that thing is, like they still have the constitutional authority to do this. So yeah. Anyway, I don't think that the Congress, right? They're just totally neglecting their responsibility to do oversight over the executive, and they're just letting them break laws left and right. I mean, they're not enforcing corruption laws. The Hatch Act, yeah, of course, they are committing crimes, and then they're not prosecuting themselves. That's like the way that the executive works right now. So yeah, repeal all crimes doesn't seem like the answer. The answer seems to be impeach them. But yeah, the Congress is part of the problem. And so yeah, I mean, at some well,
I stopped listening
when
you said repeal all crimes, and I got very interested in that.
You're like, oh yeah, I mean, the solution becomes vote them out, en masse, and we only have another year and 3 months or whatever, or I guess another year to vote them all out.
All right, we have any concluding thoughts here? Any more we have to say? I feel like we kind of discussed it out, right?
I think we basically wrung out all the debate juice cleaned it off onto the table. So if you want to sop up our sticky debate juice, then leave a comment and like and subscribe. And we'll see you again on another radical left episode of Info Hazard.